Can you imagine a time when people couldn't live without their Blackberry? It was more than a phone. It was a status symbol. You'd see presidents, CEOs, celebrities, all glued to that tiny screen with the clacky keyboard. They called it the Crackberry for a reason. And then, almost overnight, it vanished. Poof, gone. So what happened? How does a tech giant at the top of the world blow it so badly? Stick around, because today, we're breaking down how BlackBerry lost the smartphone war, and trust me, it wasn't just one mistake. It was a series of missteps that turned this powerhouse into a cautionary tale. Let's get into it. They thought they were untouchable. At their peak, BlackBerry was everywhere. If you didn't have one, you weren't serious. Wall Street loved it. Governments trusted it. Celebrities flaunted it. And the execs at BlackBerry, they were riding high. And they believed their lead was unshakable. So when Apple launched the iPhone in 2007, they laughed, literally. They thought it was a toy. No keyboard, no real email system, no threat. They didn't get it. The game had changed. While they were stuck thinking about keyboards and enterprise clients, Apple was selling an experience. Apps, music, video, a full lifestyle device. BlackBerry's arrogance blinded them. And when you think you can't lose, well, that's usually when you do. They clung to the keyboard. You've got to give it to BlackBerry. They loved that keyboard. Their entire identity was wrapped around those little buttons. People said they typed faster on it. It was professional. But here's the thing, once people saw what a big, beautiful touchscreen could do, full apps, immersive browsing, better media, the keyboard started to look kinda old. Competitors embraced the change. BlackBerry resisted. For years, they kept betting people would come back for the keyboard. But by the time they finally launched decent full-screen phones, the market had moved on. It's a classic mistake. Falling in love with your own product, instead of following what people actually want next. The app problem they ignored, let's be real. After the iPhone launched the App Store, it was game over. Suddenly your phone wasn't just for calls and emails. It was your camera, your map, your entertainment, your everything. And here's where BlackBerry blew it big time. They didn't take apps seriously. Their App Store was an afterthought. Developers didn't want to build for it. The coolest stuff was on iOS and Android. So even if you loved your BlackBerry, you were missing out. And eventually, that frustration pushed people to switch. In tech, it's not enough to have the best device. You need an entire ecosystem people want to be part of. BlackBerry never built one. Leadership that couldn't decide. You know what kills a company faster than competition? Confusion at the top. BlackBerry had two CEOs running the show, Jim Balsillie and Mike Lazaridis. On paper, it sounded like balance. In reality, it was a mess. One guy wanted to double down on business customers. The other wanted to chase consumers. One was cautious. The other was reckless. So decisions got delayed or watered down or flat out wrong. While Apple was laser-focused and Android was scaling fast, BlackBerry was stuck in endless meetings. And when the market's moving that fast, hesitation is deadly. The lack of clear leadership meant they were always reacting, never leading. The storm that sank them. Okay, quick story. In 2008, BlackBerry tried to fight back against the iPhone with their first touchscreen phone, the BlackBerry Storm. And it was a disaster. Rush to market. Buggy, weird, clickable, screen that drove people nuts. Returns through the roof. For a lot of loyal BlackBerry fans, this was the breaking point. They'd stuck with the brand, but it looked desperate. And worse, it showed the world that BlackBerry wasn't ready for the new era of smartphones. You only get one shot at a first impression in a new space, and the storm blew it. From that point on, BlackBerry was always playing catch up, and never quite catching up. The software that couldn't keep up, hardware mistakes are one thing. But the real killer, software. BlackBerry's old operating system was great for email and security, but not much else. Meanwhile, iOS and Android were evolving at lightning speed. Beautiful interfaces, smooth app integration, regular updates. BlackBerry kept promising a big comeback with their BlackBerry 10 OS, but by the time it launched, it was too late. The App Store was empty. The experience felt clunky. Developers weren't interested. and users they'd already moved on. In tech, speed matters. And BlackBerry's slow, outdated software made even their newer phones feel ancient. No one's waiting around for that. Android eats the world, and while BlackBerry was stumbling, something else was happening. Android was taking over. Suddenly, it wasn't just Apple vs. BlackBerry anymore. It was everyone vs. BlackBerry. Samsung, HTC, Motorola, a flood of Android phones hit the market in every price range. They weren't just cheaper, they were more modern, bigger screens, better cameras, way more apps. And Android was improving fast. By the early 2010s, it was clear this was the future. BlackBerry tried to fight on too many fronts: business, consumer, high-end, low-end. But without a competitive product or ecosystem, they couldn't win anywhere. Android didn't just compete with BlackBerry, it crushed it. Security lost its edge for years. BlackBerry's secret weapon was security. No one did encrypted messaging and enterprise protection like they did. It's why governments and big banks swore by them. But here's the thing, Apple and Google weren't standing still. iOS got more secure, Android got more enterprise-friendly, and companies started letting employees bring their own phones. BYOD policies. Suddenly, people didn't want to carry two phones anymore. They wanted one, and it wasn't a BlackBerry. Bit by bit, BlackBerry's big advantage faded. When your core value stops being unique, you'd better have a plan B. BlackBerry didn't. And that old security first pitch wasn't enough to win the battle anymore. The market moves on. Here's the hard truth. The world stopped waiting for BlackBerry. Apple was innovating every year. Android phones were dropping new features constantly. Meanwhile, BlackBerry was still trying to catch up. And that gap was only getting bigger. Carriers stopped pushing their phones. Stores stopped giving them shelf space. Even hardcore fans started jumping ship. I mean, why settle when iPhones and Galaxies were just better? By the time BlackBerry released decent Android-based phones like the Priv, it was too late. The market had moved on. And in tech, once the crowd leaves, it almost never comes back. Leadership shakeup and desperation. Eventually, the writing was on the wall. The old CEOs were out. Enter John Chen, a turnaround specialist. He knew BlackBerry couldn't win the smartphone war anymore. So he made the tough call: get out of hardware, pivot to software and security. It was the right move, but also an admission of defeat. BlackBerry branded phones lived on briefly through licensing deals, but the magic was gone. The company's focus shifted to enterprise software, IoT, and cybersecurity. Not glamorous, but survivable. BlackBerry didn't die. It just became something else. A far cry from the king of mobile it once was. The app that could have saved them. But didn't one last twist. You remember BBM? BlackBerry Messenger was huge before WhatsApp, before iMessage. It had a built-in network of millions. If BlackBerry had spun BBM out as a cross-platform app early, who knows? They could have owned messaging. But nope. They kept it locked to BlackBerry devices for too long. By the time they released BBM for iOS and Android, WhatsApp was already king of the hill. Another missed opportunity. In tech, timing is everything. And once again, BlackBerry was just too late. A brand that became a footnote. So where's BlackBerry today? They're alive, but not in the phone game. Now they do software security, automotive systems, enterprise tools. It's a steady business, but not a headline maker. As for phones, BlackBerry branded devices pop up now and then through licensing deals. But let's be real, they're niche. For most people, BlackBerry is a memory. Remember when? It's wild to think that a company that once ruled mobile completely missed the shift it helped start. But hey, that's tech. Blink and the game changes. And if you're not willing to change with it, you get left behind. So that's the story of how BlackBerry blew it. A mix of arrogance, slow decisions, missed trends, and plain old stubbornness. It's a powerful reminder in tech. You can be on top one year and fighting for survival the next. What do you think BlackBerry's biggest mistake was? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you like this breakdown, give it a like, share it around, and hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.